All right, good morning, everybody. Time is now 9:31 a.m. Today's date is Tuesday, March 19, 2024. This time and place for our regularly scheduled business meeting. We are here at the Commission Conference Room at the offices of the Montana Public Service Commission. I will call this meeting to order. Would my colleagues join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance? All right, thank you, colleagues. I would note for the record that Commissioner O'Donnell, Commissioner Pinocci, myself, Vice President Fielder, and Commissioner Bukacek are present in the Bollinger Room this morning, so we do have quorum. The Montana Public Service Commission welcomes public comment on any matter that is on today's agenda or on any matter that is within the jurisdiction of the Montana Public Service Commission. I would just remind you before you make public comment to state and spell your name for the record and identify who you may be representing. As we always do, we'll start with public commenters in the room. Is there any public commenters in the room? Good morning, Mr. Fitzmaurice.
Good morning. Be back. President Brown, members of the commission, my name is Nick Fitzmaurice. That's Fitzmaurice. I'm the Energy Transition Engineer at the Montana Environmental Information Center. I'll keep it brief this morning. This is on docket 2024-03028. I just want to express my support for the public comment period being opened and specifically having that public hearing and opening that forum at the public hearing to hear the broad public input, given the scope of interested parties and the number and diversity of the petitioning organizations. There's a lot of interested folks that would like to share with the commission their thoughts on this matter. So thank you for your consideration here and would like to put that forward.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Fitzmaurice. Good to see you. All right. Any other public commenters in the room? Good morning. Please come forward. Please.
My name is John Herron, Herrin, President Brown and commissioners. I've testified before back in October and also a couple of weeks ago on the merits of looking at climate change and where it goes in the future for our world and particularly Montana. And I'm really pleased to hear that the staff report recommends that we have this hearing to consider rule changes within the Public Service Commission. And what that means is essentially trying to incorporate not only the constitutional mandates for protection of humans and the environment, but it also, as I mentioned last week in the Montana codes, there's basically the Environmental Policy Protection Act, which it takes the Constitution and adds a lot more real specific definitions of what each state agency is supposed to consider. And just briefly, it says particularly profound influences on population growth, density, high density urbanization, industrial expansion, and so forth. Recognizing that the critical importance of restoring and maintaining the environmental quality to the overall welfare and human development. It goes on, and I think that I would highly recommend that be incorporated into the rulemaking process as an official recognition of that mandate and how that should be interpreted when writing the rule changes, because it's essential that we basically try and avoid lawsuits, unnecessary litigation. I've been in many, many lawsuits, and it is a big waste of time for everybody. to speak more into where we're going in the future, is basically the population of the world is going exponential. It's basically at 8 billion people, and we're going probably closer to 10 billion people in the future. But at the same time, we've got these charts that I've shown before, but basically that the world CO2 levels are essentially going exponential, and so is the methane levels. And this is going back 800 years. It's never been, it's roughly double what the CO2 levels have been during the interglacial periods, which is, and I've gone into a little bit of detail of that, of how that is all driven with, in particular, the Antarctic ice sheets and what happens when that melts. And we're headed that way. All the scientists are just screaming at the top of their lungs right now. Not only the Arctic is melting and we're changing all that snow into dirt, but it's releasing methane, and there's all these feedback mechanisms that are just going to make global warming go exponential. What is going to happen? And the reports saying that billions of people in the world are going to die. That whole equatorial regions of the world are going to be largely uninhabitable, not only from raising sea levels, but the humidity and the heat. They're saying that a lot of parts of the world are going to be 15 minutes in exposure to that kind of heat and humidity is going to kill people. So what's going to happen to Montana? What's the children, 16 children in the lawsuit, have very valid reasons. I'll probably be dead by the worst of this happens. But we're looking at a border crisis right now. What are those people escaping? They're escaping institutional volatility, death threats, just survival. But then you add the heat and humidity to those people. Where are they going to go? They're going to try and escape to America. And Montana is probably going to be one of those refuge. We're already seeing it. People are moving to Montana just to escape the heat. The Midwest of the United States will be more likely in the next 20 to 30 years becoming more and more unbearable. I mean, that's a fact. So is Canada going to be a refuge? Are they going to allow? So what's going to happen to the Canadian border? We might even see what we're seeing in Mexico right now in Montana, is with people trying to get into Canada. What I'm saying is that the story is not a fictitious. It's one of those horror movies that we're going to face, and that everything that the Montana in particular, because we're such a large coal producer, and with the coal strip power plant still operating, which I wish was dead and gone, that's where you folks fall into this network. So anything that the PSC can do, and looking at all the issues, and whenever they're doing a natural gas or it's coal power, please consider that your actions can, and demand that, I guess, the regulated utilities do something and make every effort they can to turn the needle as much as we can to a safer and more productive future. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Heron, thank you. Good to see you again. Any other public commenters in the room? Public commenters in the room. All right, seeing none, we'll move to online comment. I will call out your name by order of time that you indicated you wanted to make public comment. So online commenter number 1, Mr. Gary Madsen. Mr. Madsen, are you on?
I am, thank you.
Right.
Commissioners, I am Gary Matson, spelled M as in Mike, A-T-S-O-N. I'm science advisor for Friends of Two Rivers, a nonprofit clean energy advocate based in Bonner Milltown community. We were commenting on a petition to adopt a new rule considering greenhouse gas emissions. The extremely well-documented and thorough petition affirms the legal and regulatory authority of the Public Service Commission to ensure that regulated utilities comply with Montanans' constitutional right to a clean and healthful environment. Commissioners must be well-informed leaders in guiding Montana's energy future, and we urge them to recognize the overwhelming scientific evidence that greenhouse gases are degrading our climate, resulting in increasingly unbearable costs. Investor-owned utilities are obligated to provide customers with dependable electricity. They are also obligated to provide their shareholders with a good return on their investments. In choosing electricity generation resources, the utility has financial reason to select the more expensive fossil fueled resource that will grow its financial base and provide greater shareholder returns. Because the costs of climate change are completely ignored in determining utility profits, the returns enjoyed by shareholders are unrealistically high. Like the utility, the Montana Public Service Commission is obligated to ensure that electricity generation is reliable. However, it must act on behalf of Montanans instead of shareholders. It must not allow continued reliance upon fossil fuel generations. It is broadly accepted, though not by Northwestern, that renewable electricity is less expensive than fossil fuel generation and can be just as reliable. Northwestern staff has expressed a lack of concern for its climate change impacts because its emissions are only a small part of the global total. This defense is shallow and inexcusable. We must all act together to do what we can to enable a clean and healthful environmental future. We respectfully urge the Commission to adopt the new rule, consideration of adverse climate impacts of greenhouse gas emissions. Applying the social cost of carbon as provided in the rule will result in a truer recognition of the total cost of fossil fuel generation resource and help lead the way to a future with reliable electricity that is truly affordable. And thank you very much for this opportunity to comment.
All right. Thank you for your time, Mr. Madsen. Appreciate it. All right. Commenter number 2, August Schur. Mr. Schur.
Hello, commissioners. I'm August Schur. August spelled just like the month, SCHUERR. Hello, commissioners. Today I'm speaking to you about MEIC's rulemaking petition. I've lived here in Montana all my life, and never before have I seen the level of climate destruction that I have in the past few years. Every year now, for months on end, the big sky is no longer blue, but choked in heavy orange smoke. Watching the flames of the Bridger Foothills fire burning in the night, or desperately trying to hold back the Yellowstone, shoveling sand in the dark in a fruitless attempt to save my friends and neighbors' houses in my hometown of Livingston. I never want to feel that despair I felt when the water lapped at my ankles, powerless to stop it. The dread in my heart looking at the stinking bloated bodies of the dead trout floating in the Yellowstone because the summer sun warms the waters of the river so much that algae blooms and strangles the life out of the water that once ran clear and cold when I was a child. But I'm not powerless. I can lift my voice along with 40 other businesses and organizations to say enough is enough. I refuse to stand idly by and let the smoke choke my lungs. I refuse to let the floods carry me away. I refuse to let the snow leave the mountain peaks, leaving the rivers and streams dry and lifeless. This is why I'm here today, to say to you in this room that we have the power to recognize every Montanan's right, constitutional right, to a clean and healthful environment for present and future generations. You have the chance in this room to make a real difference. I implore you to do the right thing. The PSC is our last line of defense against the greed and disregard of companies like Northwestern, who refuse to recognize anything but the demands of their shareholders like BlackRock and Vanguard. Companies who will drain the lifeblood of this land and sell it to the highest bidder, who will raise our utility rates by 28% when everyone is struggling to make ends meet, and in the same breath refuse to invest in a livable future. It is the duty of all, especially the PSC, to step in and protect this place we call home. If we don't do something now, by the time I'm an old man, the snow will be gone. I will no longer hear the chirp of the pike as he prepares for a long winter under the snow. I will no longer feel the hairs on the back of my neck stand up at the elk's bugle during the rut, the cool embrace of the river in the summer sun, or the sting of the snow hitting my face as I carve long turns down the mountain. All I will have is the grief for what once was and a bitter regret at our inaction. Our children and grandchildren won't even have that. Just a sad old story. I'd also like to echo what Mr. Fitzmaurice said and urge you to hold a public hearing about MEIC's petition. Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you, Mr. Schuer. All right, online commenter number 3, Mr. Tim Holmes.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for your time listening to public today. My name is Tim Holmes. I'm an artist in Helena. My last name is spelled Holmes. I'm a Montana energy consumer and small producer, and also a member of the Northern Plains Resource Council. I'm here to comment on docket number 2024-03-028, a petition for a new rule pertaining to the Commission's consideration of the adverse climate impacts of greenhouse gas emissions. In addition to my comment today, Northern Plains has also submitted 209 individual comments submitted by members and supporters around the region in support of this petition. I'm deeply concerned about the role that energy production plays in the broad impacts of climate change. Northern Plains supports this joint petition for declaratory rulings and rulemaking to consider climate impacts, seeing that it's essential that Montana PSC administer its oversight duties of our energy system. We also ask that the PSC hold a public hearing on the petition in order to develop a record, receive evidence, and allow the petitioners and interested persons to present their views on the matter with deep implications for the health of Montana's climate in a way that protects our land, water, and air quality for coming generations. I've got 2 school-age kids here at home, and every day, the one thing that worries me the most is what sort of a world I and my generation will be leaving for them. Ever since statehood, we've pursued a policy of allowing anyone who wants to dig up our resources for their own wealth to go at their leisure. My late mother, Polly Holmes, was a housewife in 1970 when I was a kid. We lived in Billings. She was so irate that the coal companies were taking Montana's resources with little benefit for the people that she decided to run for the legislature. And this is a woman who, when my father asked her to marry him in 1951, replied, "Yes, I will, but under one condition, that you never make me speak in public." She went on to serve in the House for 10 years, struggling to pass policies to make Montana a better place for me and my kids. And she and my dad taught us kids that the way to lead a meaningful life is to focus not on what we can extract for ourselves, but on how we can work for the betterment of the whole community. Yes, we still have the capacity to live out of our higher natures. As was established by our state's court in the Held versus Montana decision, the climate crisis impacts all of Montanans, but it's especially harmful to those who rely on our land and natural resources for their livelihood, like Montana's farmers and ranchers, and everybody's kids like mine. I admire the Native Americans that this culture displaced from the land. They spent every day in the heart of nature, giving praise to the Great Spirit by living in communion with all the brothers and sisters of the winged people and the four-leggeds and the rooted peoples, all the creatures in the creation around them. And it's not too late for us. We can spend our lives, especially here in beautiful Montana, appreciating the beauty of nature, loving each other every day, delighting in what we as human beings can create. We can still live lives dedicated not to grinding nature into money, but dedicated to sharing and celebrating nature's beauty. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Holmes. All right, online commenter number 4, Winona Rachel.
Good morning, PSC commissioners and staff. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Winona Rachel, Rachel, and I'm the field organizer for Families for Livable Climate. I live in Missoula. I'm commenting this morning again on docket 2024-03-028 in support of the joint petition to consider climate impact that was filed by a diverse coalition of organizations across the state. Montana families are counting on the PSC to do their job to protect both our wallets and our shared climate in regulating gas and electric utilities. That means taking advantage of the abundance of existing resources and research in considering climate change now. I also believe it's important for the PSC to hold a public hearing on this rulemaking petition to allow the public and petitioners to more fully share their concerns and opinions. Our kids and grandkids need elected officials to consider their futures and our changing climate when making decisions that could impact them in the years to come. And Montanans deserve a voice on this important matter. Thank you again for your time.
All right. Thank you, Winona. Online commenter number 5, Mr. Jasper Schur.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Hello, my name is Jasper Schur, Schurr. I'm from Livingston, and I'm commenting in favor of the joint rulemaking petition that everyone else so far has commented in favor of. I've spent my whole life outside in Montana, climbing mountains, backpacking, swimming in the Yellowstone, and skiing. Montana's wilderness has made me who I am. However, ever since I can remember, there has been a sense of grief and anxiety associated with my time spent outside, as I've been able to witness the effects of climate change firsthand. Entire forests of whitebark pine and lodgepoles wiped out by beetles whose populations are no longer controlled by cold winters. I no longer see pikas in the mountains, as they will die of heat stroke at around 70 degrees. I've recently seen it reach almost 80 degrees at 12,000 feet of elevation. In 2022, my hometown experienced unprecedented flooding from the Yellowstone River. I know families that lost homes and businesses in that flood. Spring is now tainted with the anxiety that summer will bring choking smoke and unbearable heat. Every winter, there have been fewer and fewer skiable days. The river I grew up swimming in now fills with dead fish suffocated by algae blooms in unnaturally warm water. The economy of my hometown of Livingston relies on the outdoor industry, from ski shops in the winter to fishing guides in the summer. All of this is threatened by climate change. My livelihood and future are threatened by climate change. That's why I support the joint rulemaking petition filed by a diverse coalition to consider climate change when it regulates electric and gas utilities. I would also like to echo the request that the PSC hold a public hearing on this petition. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Any other online commenters at this point? I am being informed there or not. So one last opportunity. Any public commenters in the room? All right. Seeing none, thank you for the public comment this morning. I'll move into announcements. There are no changes to the work session items this morning, so let's roll right into our action items. Action item number 1 is approval of the commission minutes for the week of March 11, 2024. Is there a motion, Vice President Fielding?
Mr. President, I move approval of the commission minutes for the week of March 11th, 2024.
Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Bukacek, a second. We have a motion and a second. All right. Any revisions, edits, changes? The draft minutes for the week of March 11, 2024? Seeing none, all those in favor of Vice President Fielder's motion to approve the commission minutes for the week of March 11, 2024 as the final minutes, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying no. Seeing no opposition, the commission minutes are adopted. All right, let's move right into our work session item. This is docket 2024.03.028. This is Montana Environmental Information Center et al. This is on the petition for adoption of new rule and declarations pertaining to the commission's considerations of the adverse climate impacts of greenhouse gas emissions. We're here to consider beginning informal rulemaking proceedings regarding the new rule proposed in the petition. Good morning, Mr. Hamilton.
Good morning, Mr. President and members of the commission. As you're all now well aware, docket 2024.03.028 concerns a petition filed on February 28th, 2024 for rulemaking on the part of the commission to consider greenhouse gas emissions and issue a pair of declaratory rulings on the commission's obligation to consider climate change as part of its decision-making. Under Montana law, when the commission receives a petition for rulemaking, it has 60 days to either deny the petition or initiate rulemaking proceedings in accordance with Montana Code Sections 2-4-302 through 2-4-305. One of those sections of statute, Section 304, allows the commission to use informal conferences and consultations as a means of obtaining viewpoints. Additionally, the commission may choose to hold a hearing or oral presentation to develop a record and record evidence concerning the proposed rule. A copy of the petition has been included in your materials at this stage. However, it is not necessary to consider the merits of the petition. We are here only to answer a procedural question, which is whether the commission should hold a hearing to receive testimony and viewpoints of interested parties concerning the petition. The staff recommendation is to issue the notice of public hearing and opportunity for comment, providing both an opportunity for a hearing in person and for written public comments to the commission in the month of April. With that, I would be happy to answer any questions the commission may have, but again, the staff recommendation is to issue the notice of public hearing with any necessary revisions.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hamilton. Colleagues, I will move to approve the notice of opportunity to comment and to authorize staff to make non-substantive edits. I will have an amendment if this motion is seconded. The motion has been seconded by Commissioner O'Donnell, so we have motion and second. So we are on the motion. Colleagues, for discussion this morning, I will move to amend the draft notice of public hearing and opportunity to comment, specifically paragraph 6, to revise the hearing date, which is presently in the draft order as April 9, 2024, and to substitute in April 8th, 2024 at 9 a.m. So an amendment to paragraph 6 as to the date of the hearing. Is there a second?
I'll second that, Mr. President.
Vice President Fielder, I'll accept her second. So we have a motion and second discussion as to the change on the hearing date from April 9th to April 8th. Seeing none, all those in favor of my motion signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. All those opposed signify by saying no. Seeing no opposition, motion carries. So we're back on the underlying motion as once amended. Discussion?
Very brief
Commissioner
comments.
Bukic.
I think to have a composite of robust public commentary on record in one sitting is a great opportunity. I will be voting yay.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Bukic. Additional discussion?
Mr. President,
Vice President Field?
question for Mr. Hamilton. Mr. Hamilton, the staff analysis summarizes various ways the commission can obtain information to inform our decision on this matter. The hearing is just one of those means. Is that correct?
Mr. President and Vice President, that is correct. The hearing is one opportunity, but there will also be an opportunity to provide written public comment. And of course, the commission takes public comment on any matters within its jurisdiction before any of its formal meetings.
Okay. And it's the prerogative of the commission to kind of set some boundaries on the hearing as far as the amount of time that's spent. I can imagine there's a lot of people that would like to comment, and is the commission obligated to, allow this to go for days and days, or do we have the ability to kind of keep it orderly and make sure everyone has a chance within, reasonable timeframes?
Mr. President and Vice President, yes, the commission does have the ability to set reasonable parameters on the length of public comment. We are under deadlines and we have limited resources, as all state agencies do. So unlimited time is not really realistic. And if history is any indicator, I believe you are correct. This will be a well-attended hearing for the commission.
I agree. There's quite a bit of interest in the topic. And just for President Brown, your motion to amend, which passed, would set that Monday, April 8th as the day you anticipate this being a one-day hearing. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So April 8th would be the date of the hearing.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification. I appreciate that.
Additional discussion? Additional discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of my motion as once amended to approve the notice of opportunity to comment and authorize staff to make non-substantive edits and to make the hearing date April 8th, not April 9th, signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed signify by saying no. Seeing no opposition, motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Hamilton. All right, that concludes our work session items for the morning. Just one public announcement. Our next commission business meeting will be at the usual time. That will be Tuesday, March 26, 2024 at 9:30 a.m. Seeing no further business to come before the commission. Time is now 10:02 a.m. I will adjourn today's business meeting.